Hello everyone, my name is Valeria.
I'm Alicia.
And welcome back to Teen Docs. In today's episode, we will be talking about addiction and harmful coping mechanisms in today's society. So everyone deals with stress and the problems of life in different manners, right? Some may meditate, some may work out, some may find a hobby that's useful for them or just enjoyable. But some don't know how to deal with those problems. And so they resort to substances that are harmful to their bodies and eventually to their lives. So the first substance that we will be talking about, I think everyone that's listening, or the majority, has had it before. It's probably something that you had this morning. It's coffee. Well, caffeine.
Technically.
Yeah. So caffeine is one of the most common addictive substances. And it's one that it's sold at supermarkets, right? And while it's not necessarily harmful, eventually
It can become a harmful addiction.
That's right. So where is caffeine found, right? Caffeine can be found from coffee to energy drinks to caffeinated drinks such as sodas or tea even, right?
Tea, yeah.
Right? And what caffeine does to your body is it accelerates your heartbeat so that you're more alert. And for some people, these are actually like the benefits of it, you know, especially if you work late or you study, it can help you to stay awake for longer periods of time.
Yeah.
And this also leads to the abuse of caffeine, which can cause
heart problems. It can cause dehydration because caffeine causes your body to release a lot more water than it does with, for example, I guess soda. And so you can easily become more dehydrated if you don't drink a lot of water and again, lots of coffee. It can also, in the future, I guess if you drink too much, it can also mess up your kidneys.
I love coffee. I mean, I have like at least 1 cup every day. And last month, I actually didn't drink coffee for 1 day. And on the way back home, my head was pounding. Like, I was in like a really bad mood. So I think that's one of the withdrawal symptoms that most people with a caffeine tolerance have, right? And so that's what makes it really hard to stop.
Because I guess in moderate amounts, it's good because like it helps you stay awake, you know, for class, during work, more alert, less mistakes, all that. But
there's some people that drink energy drinks every single day. And these energy drinks have like 300 milligrams of caffeine in one serving. And I know of people that drink energy drinks every single day. And for an adult, the recommended caffeine intake daily is like 400 milligrams, right? And an energy drink has 300 milligrams. So that's already like more than half of the recommended amount in just one drink. So
that's pretty bad.
Yeah. And even soda has caffeine, you know? It has like around like 30 to 40 milligrams.
I also know people who like, at least for me, I got used to like drinking water with every meal, but I know people who like with every meal, they have like soda. And like, it's not like the little baby cans. It's like they have like they bring in the whole, what is it? The whole
bottle?
The whole like giant bottle. And like they just start serving without limit.
Oh no.
Yeah, that's really bad.
Sometimes I have like Coke and a cup of coffee and that gets my heartbeat like going like this. So I don't think that's healthy. I really don't. Last year, I started drinking Celsius. And you know, Celsius is a workout drink, right? It accelerates your metabolism. But I would drink it just to drink it. And it caused such bad anxiety that I couldn't sleep at night. So I would not recommend drinking Celsius if you're not going to work out.
If you're not going to expel that energy in like in a workout or something that like you're like literally in motion, but you're not the only one who had a bad experience with Celsius.
That's right.
The first time I had a Celsius, it was really bad. I had a lot of stomach troubles.
That was my fault. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I did really good on my push test, but I mean, see, it's good in some ways, but then it gave me really bad anxiety. And like after the anxiety, I was just like really tired. I was like dead.
I thought she was like, the next day I thought she was going to end up in the hospital, and it was going to be my fault. But you know, I didn't say anything. I
was gonna write on a note that she caused my death.
So the next substance we will talk about is alcohol, which is more serious than caffeine because this
substance is a lot more addictive than caffeine, and it has a lot more negative consequences.
Right, and it also messes with your cognitive functioning.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. Alcohol is actually hereditary. So if there are people in your family that
are addicted to alcohol
or alcoholism, if they have alcoholic tendencies, then you are likely to become an alcoholic. But also, like, don't think that because your dad was an alcoholic, you have to be an alcoholic, right? Like, so I think a lot of grown-ups, right? As well as teenagers, but grown-ups, you know, they have a lot of stress going on in their lives. There's work and everything, and so I guess after coming home after a long day, you know, it would make sense to, I guess, because what alcohol does is like it relaxes your body, and that it makes you feel better, right? But in moderate amounts, right? Everything in moderation. I think that's a common thing.
That's the key.
That's the key
to like I guess the boundary line between like enjoying it and then becoming addicted to it.
So, but I guess that harmful coping is when you start drinking and drinking and drinking.
When you start using it as an escape instead of like just a small way to wind down.
And you like prioritize it over your own family, over your own job, and then your life is in shambles.
Yeah.
Alcohol is also is very alluring to teenagers because, you know, legal drinking age here in the United States, it's 21. And, you know, either they're peer pressured or they want to know like, what it feels like to be drunk, right? But what does that really entail?
The process of getting drunk actually starts when you start like drinking more alcohol, then your body can actually
and it enters your bloodstream and it alters your brain.
Yeah, it gets distributed all throughout the body, and then it starts messing with the nerve endings, and it ends up slowing down your brain function, and well, that's how you start losing a little control over your actions, what you say, what you do.
And while alcohol like might make a person feel good in the moment, the next day it would probably bring a headache and all that.
It could bring a lot of stomach troubles
and thirst and vomit and all that. Yes, and in the long term, it can also cause liver damage. It can cause
certain types of cancers. It can also mess with your kidneys.
Yeah. There's a person in my family who drank a lot when he was younger, and right now, when he was like around 30 or 40, he got a kidney removed, and right now he only has one kidney, right? but he continued to drink, and so now he's in line for a kidney transplant, and he gets dialysis every second day. So yeah.
So not only does it harm you, but it harms your pocket.
Yeah, actually, alcohol can become a very expensive habit or coping mechanism. And if you're a teenager and you're like, oh, well, I can get a fake ID and buy alcohol, don't do that. It's not worth it. When you're young, your brain still hasn't developed correctly, right? And so it's more prone to damage, right? And so it might not develop correctly. It might hinder that proper development of your cognitive functioning. And that's really, really, really important. Also, a fun fact about alcohol. Well, it's more of a little fun fact, right?
Yeah.
In the 1920s here in the US, they actually, it was the age of prohibition, right? So they prohibited alcohol. And what the government would do is actually a conspiracy, but not really a conspiracy. The alcohol would be poisoned by the government because they held like underground secret parties, right? And people would go and drink this alcohol that the government poisoned, so that whoever drank the alcohol would die and get caught. So that's a fun fact. Yeah.
That's horrible, though.
Yeah, so it goes on to show like how people, even when it's prohibited by the government, they still go out and they find ways, right?
Yeah.
Next thing we want to talk about is drugs. There are a lot of drugs out there, but the most common ones would be
inhibitors, repressors,
right,
hallucinogens.
I guess like their market names would be like weed, marijuana, cocaine, right? So marijuana is actually like the gateway drug. So what that means is that once you try that one, you're like more likely
to try other ones and like to get addicted.
I was actually reading this book, right? It was this father who had a son who he had like a really bright, promising future. And his parents had been in a divorce, so he'd grown up like with his dad, and he started smoking weed.
Oh.
Right? And then weed turned into heroin, and then eventually crystal meth. And that crystal meth is really addictive. Like, so he left home, he went to rehab, he got out of rehab, he got lost, and he went back to rehab. So once you're addicted, it's a disease. It's a disease that you carry with you all your life, and it's really hard to overcome it. So people have to be conscious of that if you make the decision to try drugs, it's going to be really hard to get out.
And even though, like, I guess some people I know, they're like, oh no, it's fine, it's not, like, I can control like how much drugs I take, right? No, it's an addiction, and
because it's not you anymore.
Yeah.
It's the addiction that controls you. Yeah. So
and not only like, and this is like talking about like, I guess like the bad drugs, quote unquote, but like but you can also get addicted to physician prescribed drugs. Physician prescribed drugs,
like the opioid crisis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for example, what's morphine, right? Is a painkiller that is also highly addictive. And so say you go in for something,
a car accident,
and they inject you with this drug, and eventually you like one more, right? Or how would you explain that? I don't know how to explain it. I feel like I'm sounding, but how would you explain it?
I guess that like, well, because morphine is a really strong painkiller, so it's not like, the Advil you can take over the counter, but it's like it takes away like completely your pain. But not only that, it makes you like a little doozy and all that. And so I guess slowly like your body starts building a tolerance for that, and so like you start like wanting, like the doctor keeps prescribing morphine to help with the pain. But then like when it goes on for too long, instead of like your body just like using it for a little bit, it starts demanding it, and that's when it becomes an addiction.
Yeah, and so like you start going to the doctor like, oh, please give me pain meds or something like that. And then, I mean, they can't really refuse you, right? So there's like different categories of drugs. There's depressants and stimulants. For example, cocaine is a stimulant. It creates a sense of arousal in the body, like hyper alertness. And I think it was common around the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
It's still around, but I think the market has moved on to like way more dangerous stuff now, like fentanyl, methamphetamines. I cannot even begin to name the kind of drugs that there are out there. And they're really accessible too.
Yeah, they're really accessible. If you want something, you'll find it. You'll find it. I've also heard that that a lot of drugs in general have become a lot more deadly. Not only like addictive, but deadly, because what I've heard is that people start mixing fentanyl with other drugs to make and like they produce other drugs, of course, right? But like sometimes, let's say just like the creators of it or just the ones who were hired, they tend to like sometimes add a little bit too much fentanyl, and like the people who buy it, who just like are addicted to it, can end up dying or can end up paralyzed or like there are just so many things that you can experience because of like just like including that they're including fentanyl and other deadly drugs, and not addictive drugs, but deadly drugs, fatal drugs.
And the thing about drugs is that they're illegal, right?
Yeah.
And in the media these days, it's become so like normalized and even romanticized, like the selling of drugs or like drug cartels.
Yeah. There are a lot of artists, for example, that glorify the use of drugs or like things like that. But also like I also heard, I'm not sure, I don't think it's in Mexico, but like that there were like drug lords that basically like helped out like the development of a city, I think.
Of cities.
Cities, right. And like they basically give back to their people and all that, but like they're using
dirty money, right?
Yeah, the dirty money. And then like people end up saying, oh no, but like this is helping us, and so like they encourage it and all that. And so
right, now that you're mentioning the media, you're right. Like we as kids, we grow up seeing these Hollywood movies that encourage premature drinking, drug usage. So we're exposed to that, and there's really like no like safeguarding ourselves from it. Yeah. So it's important to be educated about it.
And not only that, but sometimes drugs are also, I guess, glorified in like helping us in our daily lives. Like I think ecstasy it is, but like many like I guess like high performing.
I think you mean
drugs.
Adderall.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, Adderall, that like many lawyers and like like people with like long hours take in order to like keep functioning for like
I've
that
heard
many
stories
times.
Of surgeons using Adderall to get through like really long surgeries. Yeah. So, you know,
like that, like oh no, like look, it helps like do these things. Yeah, but in the long run, you'll end up burnt out. You'll end up
or like not sleeping for how many days straight.
And back into like physician prescribed drugs. Yes, they are drugs. They are also addictive, and so again, they are beneficial to you, but in moderation.
Let me like last topic that we're gonna touch on drugs, overdosing. Oftentimes, like as you build a tolerance to it, your body like
starts demanding more drugs to function.
And eventually you take so much that you overdose on it and it might end in death. Addiction takes you into like a dark place. And especially drugs, because they're, again, tied to illegal stuff. You might become involved in
illegal activities.
Yeah. Gangs, violence. Really, you, at that point, you would do anything to get that substance. So the last thing we want to talk about is nicotine. And nicotine is really addictive because it produces dopamine. It releases dopamine in your brain, which makes a person feel good. So nicotine comes in the form of cigarettes, cigars, vapes, and Juuls. Is that what they call it?
Juuls, yeah.
I feel like they're definitely targeted, like, by whoever created them for kids, because they make flavored vapes, right? Like cotton candy vape.
And like they make them so appealing to kids, like kids who, like, for example, candies that's like, oh, you know, the blueberry flavored, strawberry flavored. Companies target like young kids by saying, oh, this specific Juul has like, oh, blueberry flavor, you know, and then like that attracts a lot of kids, a lot of, you know, middle schoolers, high schoolers.
Yeah, there's kids in middle school, and it's become so like normalized. I know I've seen pictures of people at parties and stuff, and they're all underage and they're like smoking vapes. So yeah, that's kind of the new thing, whereas before it was cigarettes, right?
Yeah.
But cigarettes are still like popular among
adults, I guess.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that after so long, you create an addiction, and the side effects might include lung cancer, breathing problems.
It can also cause not only cancer in your lungs, but it can cause cancer in like your throat. It can cause cancer around like your tongue and like your mouth and like all around there.
Yeah, and like bad mouth hygiene, like your teeth yellow and your teeth stain, right? And then back to vapes, they contain like toxic chemicals. And those chemicals go to your lungs, right? So once again, it causes cancer. So if you're ever pressured or you're ever like want to try a vape out, I would encourage you not to do it, because the side effects are
not worth it. They're not worth the moment of like, you know, fun and like being included. They will hurt you. And like, I know what a lot of adults say is like, oh no, don't do this, like don't do that, don't get like, they tell you not to do a lot of things when you're young, because like when you're older you'll feel it, like when they say don't eat too much junk food, because you'll feel it when you're older.
And you might not feel it now, but when you age, that's when like all the things that you do in your early
that's years, when all the consequences, like you start feeling them. And again, there are a lot of long-term side effects, like so many different types of cancer.
Breathing problems.
Yeah. So, I think it can also cause asthma.
Yeah. Or it can worsen it. If you have asthma, don't go out and buy a vape.
That's even worse for you.
And while it may seem safe because it's really accessible, it's still bad. It's still illegal if you're underage. So yeah.
I also know that for a while there was like a rumor. I mean, I never knew about it until like I heard about it, but like apparently a lot of kids believe that vaping was like just water vapor or something like that, because like vaping, I don't know, I really actually don't know how that rumor came to me, but like lots of kids
has nicotine.
Believe that. It has drugs, it has a lot of bad chemicals, and
it's harmful. It's bad. Nicotine bad, okay? So, yeah. And with every addiction, there's also that expensive side of things. The more these things are expensive, okay? And people go out and buy them because they're so addicted. And the companies that make these products are just profiting off of it. So, profiting off people's addictions and causing them harm. So we urge you to if you feel stressed or pressured by anything in your life, find something that makes you feel good, that releases that dopamine, but that is not harmful to any other organ in your body. So, for example, me, lately, a way to de-stress is, just reading.
Reading?
Reading.
Really?
Or watching a little Netflix show, or making some tea, just taking a minute to myself and being like, it's okay. Everything will be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a 40-year-old surgeon that has a 40-hour surgery to perform.
Yeah.
If you are, spend time with your family, right?
Yeah.
Spend time with your family, or take care of your kids if you have any, and do something, volunteer in your community. That's also a really good way to generate good. So yeah. Thank you so much for joining us in today's episode. It has been a great pleasure speaking with you, Alicia, and informing the public about all these substances.
All these harmful coping mechanisms.
Yeah. We hope to see you in the next episode. Please follow our social media accounts and follow our channel. And join us for our next episode. It will be
on nutritional awareness.
So,
and how to benefit, and how just like to benefit in many ways, because nutrition, our body's better life.
You are what you eat. See you next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.